Oh, God, the first 40 minutes of this show. Let's talk a little about just the opening, because it was so bad. We mentioned Triple H when he won the title. I gave him a chance early on. I said, well, he hasn't been the champion in 3 years, lots of new viewers, blah, 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 and it ended up being boring, okay? But at the time, it seemed to me like, there wasn't really any reason for Hunter to get the title. I mean, it wasn't like he was the hottest guy on the show. Jeff Hardy was way hotter leading into the Royal Rumble. I realized Jeff Hardy got suspended and all, but Randy Orton was hot as the heel champion. It just seemed like it's Triple H's turn.
Yes.
So he comes out here, and he says he destroyed the age of Orton. Orton has a broken collarbone, probably out 2 months. Hopefully he can come back 100%. We shall see. Talked about it a little bit yesterday, but he'll be back probably in 2 months. And Hunter came out and said, with him gone, who's next? And cue John Cena. John Cena came out and said, listen, everybody knows, you know it, the world knows it, the future is you and I having a match. And Hunter said, okay. And Cena said, we should do it now because in 3 weeks there's a draft and we could both end up on different shows. Hunter said, okay. So then Jeff came out and said, well, I want a shot at the belt. And going back to Hunter and Cena, the entire build for Hunter and Cena was that it's time for them to have a match.
Yeah.
It's their turn to feud for the title.
It is their turn. Cena came out at first, and he had a speech to give, basically, where he soliloquied for a bit, and he had great fire and passion, and all I could think was, this is a man who realizes he is no longer feuding with JBL. He's been set free.
Who are the two hottest teams in the Super Bowl this year?
Well, that would be the Patriots and the Giants.
Okay, the Patriots and the Giants. Now, can you imagine if, next year leading into the Super Bowl, they just put in, say, the Miami Dolphins?
Yeah.
Because it's their turn.
It's their turn.
They're not the hottest team.
No, it's not because they've beaten everybody else.
No,
it's their turn.
It's their turn. It's just like in UFC. Can you imagine if at UFC, at the next show, they just decided that they were going to put together, I don't know, Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner, just because it's time for them to have another fight?
Yeah.
No one would care.
It would be like saying we're going to crown our heavyweight champion with the best fighters of all time, and they chose Ken Shamrock and Tank Abbott.
Yeah.
Because they were big stars in the past.
But even that would be, I don't know. It's they came out and it's like, okay, it's time for us to battle now. And that's the big build.
And moreover, neither of them really seemed that enthused.
No.
So Cena, once he got over his initial speech, once they got into the give and take, they were like, you want to fight? And those are Cena's exact words. Do you want to fight?
And Hunter said, sure.
Why not?
No, actually, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. But going back to my Miami Dolphins analogy, here is a sports fan here. It's not even like Cena was even really in the mix.
No.
He was feuding in the first match on the card at the last pay-per-view with JBL, and this time he worked his way all the way up to the third match on the show, again with JBL, in matches that really were not very good. And now suddenly it's just like, it's his turn.
That actually fits the Dolphins perfectly.
It's just so retarded. So then Jeff Hardy came out, and he said he wanted a title shot, and Hunter just calmly said, I don't care which one of you I beat. You two figure it out. So Jeff said, well, I got an idea. What if me and Cena had a match, and the winner wrestles you? And Triple H said, and I quote, all right. And then they all stood there. It was the most awkward thing I've ever seen.
You've never seen three human beings with less chemistry.
No, they just all stood there looking stupid, and then all of a sudden Vince appeared on the big screen and essentially said, nobody cares about the world title. They all care about me giving away $1 million.
Yeah.
At which point everybody booed.
Yeah.
Because nobody cares about him giving away $1 million.
No, everyone knows they're not getting the money, realistically.
Yes.
So who cares?
Who cares? So then Vince said, listen, I've got a great idea for tonight if you guys are worried about this title. Let's have a first-time ever match, John Cena and Jeff Hardy, with the winner getting Hunter. And Jeff was like, wow, that was my idea. Didn't say that, but you could see on his face. And then they went to commercial. That was his entire segment.
Exactly what happened. And it took a long time, too. But yes, the overriding theme was, this match got made, and everyone looked around at each other for a while, hoping someone else to come up with a better idea.
Yes.
And no one could.
No. This encapsulated all of this bullshit. It was a pro wrestling television show that you could not possibly care about, building up a feud that there's no reason to have in storyline, it just other than it's time, and then Vince McMahon thinking that his idea is bigger, and in reality nobody cares. I mean, this was everything in a nutshell for the last 3 weeks or whatever, longer than that. Just since Raw has started to be the show and SmackDown where you just watched every week and you just don't care anymore. It's been like that since at least WrestleMania. So, anyway.
The segment ended with all 4 people involved not caring about anything.
No, nobody cared about a goddamn thing.
Apathy, no buys.
No. So then Kennedy came out with his first match with Paul Burchill, and Burchill came out and said, Katie's having her first match tonight on Raw. We have to prepare. However, I have a suitable replacement. It ended up being Umaga, who, if you'll recall, last night, he was given a senton off the top of a semi-truck on cement, and he just came back and wrestled here tonight.
Well, to be fair, his ribs were taped.
Sure. And Jeff Hardy was back, too, with none the worse for wear.
Jeff came out, he came out on the ramp, he grabbed his back, and then he did his dance anyway, and he came down the ring.
Yes. This is such a bullshit. So, they had a match. Umaga and
if you want to call it that,
and Kennedy. Umaga's ribs were hurt, and they were his gut was taped up. Was what they did, and they ended up outside, and he bonked into the announce table and hurt his ribs. And then Kennedy just got in the ring and took the count out win.
He counted along with the ref. He was so happy.
Wow.
Umaga took 90% of this match and just killed him, and then fucked up and got hurt, and that's how Kennedy won.
Yes.
Wow, what a star they've made.
Kennedy is
what a hero he was here.
They're trying so hard to make him into Steve Austin. And he's trying so hard to be Steve Austin.
Well, this was a fail.
You watch Kennedy brawl, and it's totally Steve Austin. I do not recall Steve Austin winning a lot of matches in this fashion. So they've got some work to do with young Mr. Kennedy. But this segment, thumbs down.
And then it gets worse because
that's right.
After getting his ass kicked and winning a fluke victory by count out, Kennedy was then jumped by Paul Burchill and punked.
Yes, by Paul Burchill.
Who laid him out.
The show got worse. Vince McMahon came out. He said, I would like to introduce to you $1 million. At which point, men brought out $1 million in cash.
The money had its own music?
Yes, it had its own theme song. I hope it had its own entrance video, too, that involved, like, The Mint or something of that nature. He basically... He was impressed by this $1 million. That was the first part of this.
The billionaire.
Yes,
the evil billionaire.
His eyes grew wide, and he was shuffling through the money like Scrooge McMoneybags or whoever the fuck that is. And he's just so excited. Like, I've never seen $1 million in cash before. Like, if you had $1 billion in the bank, you'd have to see some of it in cash. You know what I mean? So he's all excited about this, and he goes... This is how we're going to do this. Or first he said, we got security there, fans, so don't try anything funny. Well, they're armed.
Yes, first thing he did was the guy brought the money out in a plastic case. Vince admired the cash for a while and then went to transfer it to another plastic case.
Yeah.
And this was taking a long time.
Yes.
And finally he called for help.
Yeah. So he said all you had to do, or first he said he was going to give away the $1 million a week for as long as he liked, and then said he'd give away different sums, perhaps like $100,000 or $125,000. So all you had to do was register at WWE.com. Lots of boos. People didn't care. He said you had to provide your phone number and address. You must be a U.S. citizen. He made a joke about the folks down there in, where were they? Bakersfield. About, the illegal Mexicans. And he basically begged people to watch Raw. Yeah. He has noted, said, those of you that used to watch it but stopped, we want you to come back. Those of you who never watched, join the fun. And then he began talking about how anybody who did not watch pro wrestling was an elitist and a snob. He said the marquee outside should read, "No snobs allowed." And then he commanded the fans to begin cheering to show the snobs how much fun they were having. First off, if the snobs don't watch the show, who the fuck were they cheering for?
I don't know.
If wrestling fans cheer in a forest and no one else is there, do the snobs hear them?
I don't think they do.
I say the answer is no. So, Vince McMahon is just losing his mind. This fucking guy is just losing all of his marbles. This promo that he cut on elitist snobs that don't watch wrestling. You think I go crazy on this show? This guy's got me trumped. He's a madman.
This was insane. I've
never got to the point where I want to give away money.
Lord knows that's true.
And I'm just trying to imagine how crazy I would have to be.
That is actually impossible.
The only time was when Penis Suplex caused me to lose my mind, and I gave him double his money back plus 77 cents. And that only came out to $15.
Yes.
Okay?
And I know it still hurt you.
And to this day, it still bothers me, okay? That was $15, all right? I don't know what my fortune is compared to Vince, but to give away an equivalent amount of money would I can't imagine how crazy it'd have to be.
And you certainly want to do it with a smile.
No. Absolutely not.
I just thought my favorite moment was the point where he talked about the old viewers who used to watch Raw and they don't anymore. He's hoping the $1 million will bring them back. Okay. Point 1. This is basically a confession that my show now sucks, and therefore nobody watches it, so I have to resort to bribery to get them back.
Yes.
Okay.
The wrestling is not good enough.
The wrestling is not good.
Old wrestling fans
the
back.
character's not cool. The action's not good enough. The writing is not good enough. Therefore, I just have to pay people to watch.
Yes.
Point 2. Let's pretend, hypothetically, for example, there was a girl in my past who had left me and no longer, and for years had not talked to me.
Sure.
And I resorted to offering her $1 million to come back. Would you say that was pathetic?
Yeah.
So would I.
Well, there's a difference. Now, if you had $1 billion, perhaps it would not be as pathetic to offer $1 million. Because really, for a relationship, you're getting off easy.
Okay,
if you're a billionaire...
Forget the specific dollar amount. If I called girl A, who had not spoken to me since, let's say, 1998...
Because really, this should cost you approximately $500 million unless you get a prenup. So $1 million, you're really just getting off easy.
It would not cost me $500 million for the prenup.
Well, if you had $1 billion.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay.
It's a bad analogy. My analogy about the Miami Dolphins was much better. And I don't understand sports. Yes, it's pathetic, dude. We don't need an analogy. Vince McMahon paying $1 million for fans to come back, that's pathetic.
Thank you.
We don't have to compare it to anything. He's a pathetic, crazed madman.
Okay, good. And we agree.
We do agree.
Why are we shouting?
Because you had to create an analogy to prove that Vince was nutty for giving away money for people to come back.
When you thought about Vince giving away money, and that's when you put yourself in his shoes. I put myself in his shoes about the hopelessly pining for someone who used to like you and now does not. That's how I related to him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's move on. He's losing his mind. Then we had Holly and Rhodes against Santino and Carlito. Rhodes cut a promo for the match and said there was a special time keener who I just presume does investigations. Something keener. Whenever I hear keener now, I think of the Keen Eddies on our board. So it was not a Keen Eddy on our board unless Rodney the Piper is in fact a subscriber without my knowledge. But he came out to be the timekeeper, and he ended up fucking up at the end. His interference backfired, and Carlito kicked Holly into a roll-up by Santino for the pin. And, when this happened, I was thinking, what would be great is if Cody Rhodes turned on Rodney the Piper and Holly, and then joined up with Ted DiBiase Jr., and then literally, a minute later, they did an angle backstage where Holly was yelling at Cody about the Piper thing, saying he was a veteran and he was a leader and Cody needed to tell him about this bullshit next time. And after he left, in walked Ted DiBiase Jr. And he said 3 weeks from now he'd be choosing a partner to become one half of the tag team champions. And boy, that would be a cool little team right there. I don't know why. I just think that
because of these Sons of Legends.
Yeah, and I think that they'd give him a push. And I think it would be cool. So I'm all for that.
We know Cody's at least fine in the ring. I assume Ted's okay.
Need to throw one or two more guys in there, and you could have a stable of young upstarts.
David Flair.
Put Natty Neidhart in there. And have her jump ship in the wacky draft. Who else do we have? D.H. Smith. What a fucking crew this would be.
And Chavo.
No.
He could be their
absolutely not.
Designated.
I don't want him even on the same brand.
Yeah, they're designated.
I do not want Chavo on the same brand as Ian Man. Don't even start thinking about it. Don't give him any ideas. I only want second or third generation wrestlers. Randy Orton could be the spokesperson.
What the hell is Chavo then?
He doesn't count. He's no good.
Okay.
He's a boring
you should have said
man.
Good if second or third generation wrestlers.
Well, I thought that would be obvious. Do you like to create stables with bad wrestlers? I don't know what kind of fantasy booker you are. Yeah, but when you fantasy book, you're like, what bad wrestler
Your
can I put in this
words
dream
were,
stable?
I want second or third generation wrestlers.
Vinny, I'm making up a new stable in wrestling, okay? I don't want to put a shitty guy in there. Hello?
You need someone to get pinned, though. That's why the Hart Foundation had Jim Neidhart. He was there to do jobs.
Okay, well, pin Cody. I don't give a fuck who gets pinned. I don't want a shitty guy in there. Listen, if you want Chavo Guerrero to be pinned, Chavo has to fucking be in the match. I don't want that. I don't want Chavo involved. Keep him away. Keep him on another brand.
Where were we?
Your shitty fantasy booking. And then Santino did a promo backstage talking about the match with Cousin Sal on SmackDown, and Santino needs to just stop whatever he's been doing of late. He's going over the top with the accent, and it's gone from being really, really hilariously funny every week to a guy who's trying too hard. Maybe I'm the only guy in the world that thinks this, but the last couple of weeks, it's just been he's trying too fucking hard. Why do you have to go overboard on the accent? The fucking bad accent was funny. It's overkill now. Stop.
I enjoyed this just because the whole point of it was that no one knows what Jimmy Kimmel is famous for.
Well,
he kept throwing out talk show sticks, but none of them were from Kimmel's show, and no one knew what his stick would be because no one watches it.
Yeah. Then we had a interview with Jericho talking about the stretcher match. Segued into him talking about how he was turning over a new leaf and would be defending his belt as often as possible, starting tonight with JBL. And they were about to cut away when he said, "Hold on, one more thing. I want to dedicate this match to HBK." And that was that. So he's turning heel. They're just taking their time with it. Thanks, Vince. Anyway, top of the hour break. Let's play a song here and take the hour break as we've done, as Raw has done. I got something to say to everybody as well. A couple of people, certainly not everybody, but a couple of people got down on me the other day because of my supposed anti-Triple H bias. And Brian's on the let's bury Hunter bandwagon again. And I seriously just got to think, do those people really tune into Raw to see Hunter? No. They're liars.
I brought this up as the pay-per-view opened last night. There are people out there who, and I'm talking about wrestling fans, not like our fans, WWE fans, who will tell you that Hunter Hearst Helmsley is their favorite wrestler.
Yeah.
A lot of them. And it just confounds me.
The anti-Hunter bandwagon, they blame me. And seriously, you're sitting in front of the TV and like Hunter's your favorite guy. You like think he's great. You were excited for his matches and such.
I like it when he spits the water.
If that's the case, you have a bigger problem than I do. So, just wanted to get that out of the way right there. Jericho and JBL for the Intercontinental title. JBL is a shell. I think that he retired due to a severe back injury, and he came back, and he claimed that his back had fully healed. And I mentioned at the time that I've known a lot of people with back injuries as a gymnastics coach. I think that 98% of female gymnasts end up with a back injury doing gymnastics. And I once spoke to one who this was like 10 years ago. She told me this, and I've never forgotten it. I said, "How's your back feeling? Is it all healed up yet?" And she goes, "Brian, back injuries never heal." And I was just floored. And it's true. They never really heal. And I firmly believe that the JBL is in immense pain, and that he is not making mention of it to the folks in charge. Because when you watch that fucking guy trying to get up and down and take bumps, and just the way he moves, and he's just got to be racked with pain.
Yes, your friend with a back injury was not taking bumps and on the road 200 days a year.
No, this guy's in pain, and it's very clear watching him work. And hopefully...
That also explained, by the way, if he's in constant chronic back pain, that's going to cut down on his cardio.
Yes. Well, he's in better shape now than when he came back, but still not in that great a shape. But very, very slow, and it was actually kind of sad there at the end as they did a double down, and Jericho was about to start his comeback, and you know, the heel usually gets up first, and then the babyface cuts him off and makes his comeback. Jericho had to wait so fucking long for JBL to get to his feet. And I was like, wow, that poor fucker. So, anyway, they ended up outside. JBL grabbed a chair, shoved the ref for the DQ, and it was lame. And then Jericho gave him an enziguri, and JBL went throat first to the chair, which he had injured yesterday, mind you, in that match with Cena.
This looked so bad.
It was wacky. And then Jericho threatened to waffle him with the chair like he did last week to Michaels, but changed his mind and then just left. And it's all weird, but at least it's something. It's far more intriguing than the opening segment where it's their turn to win the belt. This is
something new.
They're trying something different.
The opener was literally more the same. This is something new, but yes, the match was what it was. JBL was taking his bumps without leaving his feet and getting up slowly, and then he grabbed the chair for this lame DQ, because Lord knows neither of these guys can do a job. And then Jericho hit the enziguri, and JBL...
Well, Jericho couldn't do a job.
Well, actually, he couldn't, you're right, but JBL sure as hell could have. But regardless, he ended up, he grabbed the chair and got kicked and sort of put the chair down and then rested his throat against it and then fell over, and it looked bad.
We had Mickey and Melina against Beth and Katie Lee in her debut on the show. She looked fine. Couple of little spots here where the timing was off, but it may not have been her fault. But overall, she looked pretty good. The whole story, there was actually a great spot in this match. Melina apparently is now a babyface, as we've mentioned, but she never really had a turn. I guess she had a brawl with Beth Phoenix, which I don't know if that was supposed to be the turn, but they did the turn during this match, and I don't even know if it was by design. Well, I mean, the spot was by design, but I don't know if they knew the spot was going to get over this big. Nobody gave a shit about Melina. Melina stood there on the apron. Mickey wanted to tag early. Melina wouldn't give it to her. She just stared at Beth. And finally, Beth got in the ring, and Melina demanded the tag. And as soon as she got it, she went totally apeshit on Beth. She leaped on her. She scissored her body. She was beating the shit out of her. They rolled outside. It was a wild, crazy brawl. And the place went crazy for it. And it was the only thing in this match at the beginning that they really cared at all about. And they went nuts for it. And then when they cut off Melina, the crowd started chanting her name, and I thought, my God, that single spot right there was an effective babyface turn. It was amazing.
It actually was something to behold, and the crowd went from not caring about this at all to being totally into it. It helped also that right after Melina ran wild and turned into a total Hellcat, she then turned around and ate a clothesline on the floor and took his giant bump, and everyone went, ooh, God, that sucks. So, of course, they all felt bad for her, and then they got excited when she made the hot tag to Mickey, and then Mickey made an awesome comeback, and the match was rolling along. Everyone was having a good time. And then Beth hit Mickey with an axe handle. and then Mickey got pinned.
Yes.
That was the end. And
she gave her an axe handle.
Just yanked the rug out from under everybody.
Behind the ref's back and pinned her. And, of course, they tried to take the heat off it by having Kennedy run down and beat up Burchill, who had come down to celebrate with his girl. And, this was where Kennedy was really doing the Steve Austin brawling. And quite comical, but there you go. Did a funny segment with Crime Time where they came out to look at the $1 million and the cops were ready to just shoot them. We had Trevor Murdoch and Lance Cade. Well, when this first began, my first thought was, they're giving this fucking match away for free on Raw with no build. And then it hit me that it's Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch, and it does not matter at all. You could have billed this for a week if you wanted to, but it would have got the exact same reaction. Nobody cared.
That being, not one single person in the state of California gave a shit about this match in any way.
Murdoch even took a Ric Flair backdrop on the mats, the pretty black mats outside. Nobody cared. Murdoch made a comeback. Nobody cared. Cade hit the sit-out powerbomb or the Umaga. Nobody cared. And just like that, these two men are slotted.
And Cade won. He won the feud. That was it. What an epic series of contests that was.
He was the better wrestler on the team.
I also like there's a point here where Murdoch was making his comeback and no one cared, and he looked around and you could tell he knew that no one cared. In an attempt to garner their favor, he made a noise and raised both arms in the air, and all I could think was, you're an ugly, white, fat babyface with hairy pits. No one's going to cheer for you.
No buys. He sang before the match, too, which also was no buys. Oh, this was sad. We had the announcers talking about how Undertaker was gone, almost like he had died. It was like, we've lost a member of our extended family.
I actually wrote down, JR and King mourn Undertaker.
Then Cena and Mickey had an awkward meeting.
By the way, as they were talking about this, they showed the package from One Night Stand, and JR and King gave their spiel about what it was going to be like without him and how they never thought this day would come. Meanwhile, the crowd began to chant Undertaker's name, so Undertaker, by not being on the show, was way, way, way more over than Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch.
Way, way more over than half this crew, really. Cena and Mickey had their awkward meeting. he was talking about how, man, everybody thinks we're a couple. People just can't be friends no more.
I don't, by the way. I don't believe these people are fucking. They have no chemistry.
No.
None.
And Cena said, oh, by the way, you left something last night, and it was her panties. And she got all embarrassed and ran off. And then when she was gone, he took a swig of Mama Joanna, which is JBL's drink. Yeah. He's feuding with the man and endorsing his product.
Sure. Well,
and this was prior to a match with Jeff Hardy.
Yes, the drink is supposed to up your sexual prowess, so he took a big swig and gave Mickey a kind of an eye, and I thought, okay, that was funny, and that saved it. Then I realized, wait, he's going to wrestle next. Jesus!
Yeah.
That was distressing.
I hope Jeff was watching, knew better than to let that man get behind him.
Yes.
Lawler showed us how to register for the $1 Million Challenge, and Ross said, well, you're not eligible, you're not an employee. And Lawler said, okay, I quit. And I thought, this is the greatest angle ever, because everybody is saying what everybody really believes, but they're not allowed to say. Foley going, I'd love to jump over the rail and dress up like a fan. Lawler saying, I may as well quit to try and get this $1 million. It's just awesome. This is such wrestle crap. It's such bullshit. It's such... Every there
is no upside to it.
There at least one time a year Vince really goes batshit crazy, and it's always fun, and this is the time. Everybody just enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride while it lasts, because eventually it's all going to fail, probably in a spectacular manner, and then they'll be forced to go back to just basic wrestling booking, and it will be fine again. So there you go. Cena and Hardy, #1 contenders match. For the third fucking show in a row, a fan jumped the rail and tried to get at the wrestlers. It happened on Raw last week. It happened on SmackDown. It's now happened on Raw again. This fucker actually got all the way into the ring, and I should note that he did, in fact, look like a member of the F4W Empire. I will not say who, but it wasn't that guy, unless that guy took a long trip. But anyway, I thought for sure it was him at first. But anyway, they tackled him and took him away, and Cena actually stopped the entire match to watch this guy getting dragged off and played it up, which it was funny, but...
Is that the kind of thing you want to be encouraging?
Bad idea.
Yeah.
There's going to be fuckers jumping the rail for months now, I hope.
No, he should have just elbowed this guy right in the mouth.
And ignored him, yeah. But no, he put him over, and now we'll probably see more of it, which... I'm fine with. It's always fine to see some dumb shit jump the rail and get his ass kicked on national television.
Although this guy, from what we could tell, he apparently put up a hell of a fight, because suddenly he was in the ring waving around being a geek, and then a security guy came at him, and they bailed out of the ring. Cena grabbed a headlock, and that's all we saw. Time passed, a few seconds went by, then we heard a loud thud at ringside, and then the camera cut wide. The dude was still there.
Yeah.
This guy was fighting. This guy was working harder than any of the wrestlers tonight.
Yeah. I also want to say this. I always get people upset when I talk about how much baseball, for example, sucks, and how MMA is like this real sport of men and the best sport of all, and in every other sport, I'll put over hockey players. Don't get me wrong, but MMA is still a superior sport. Jesus Christ. Oh, somebody didn't get their issue. But anyway, I mention this all the time about why MMA is the great sport of all time and all these other sports suck. And this is why, okay? If you're at a wrestling event and a dude pulls out a bat and his buddy starts throwing a ball at him, it's not distracting the entire arena and the guys in the ring. It's just not. If you show up with a soccer ball and you kick that thing around, you may distract a couple of people in your section, but not everybody in the building is going to turn around. You have some dumb shit jump the rail and have somebody kick his ass, the entire show stops to watch this ass kicking. Because fucking fighting is the best sport in the world. People will always stop what they're doing to watch two dudes fighting. And it's not that way with other sports.
We're not watching some of the stuff I've watched then.
Dude,
this weekend was great.
What do you mean?
There have been some bad MMA fights.
Sure, there have. But if all of a sudden somebody out there started playing baseball or started throwing a football back and forth, we'd just keep doing the show. But can you imagine if we looked out that window right there and two dudes just started throwing down?
If two dudes are out there throwing punches, that's not a sport.
Sure it is.
No, that's
what if they had gloves on?
Then it'd be a very strange...
We would still stop, and we'd be like, what the fuck is happening out there? Yeah, that's why MMA is the best.
If two guys
everybody.
decided to have an amateur boxing match in your parking lot, yes, it would get my attention.
Yes, we would be looking out there going, what the hell's going on?
If it happened every day, maybe I wouldn't care.
That's true. But I still guarantee that you would look at two dudes throwing down before you look at two dudes kicking a soccer ball back and forth.
That is true.
Now, if two guys were out there in full hockey regalia,
including skates,
I actually probably would look out that window, but only hoping that they would get in a fight. Where were we? They had a match. It was actually
they being Jeff Hardy and John Cena.
They had a fun little match right here, and it was some pretty good stuff. And people were so into Jeff, and he had some near falls, and Cena kicked out, and they were just pissed off. And he finally went for a high cross. Cena rolled through, deadlifted him up into the FU position, and hit his move for the pin. And spot's awesome. And good match, good finish. Cena at least earned his number one contendership. That's at least an improvement over the opening segment. But then Hunter came out on the ramp, and Cena walked up the ramp. Cena pointed at his belt. Hunter looked at him. That was it.
Yeah, he held the belt up. Woo.
Wow.
And the match itself, it was, for the first part, it was kind of strange because you had the fan running in, and then you had both guys being cheered, but you also had both guys being booed. So it was just a strange environment, and they really weren't doing much. And then finally, Cena made his comeback, and it got good, and then Hardy made his comeback, and it got awesome. And the last few minutes were really great. And yes, as noted, the spot where Cena rolls through the body press and herks a dude up into the FU is, I've seen it before. It's always cool. It's always great. So that's just an awesome finish. And then, really, we were right back where we started. It was the two guys who we knew would be there doing the stuff we knew they would do.
This is sad that I'm asking this question and I don't remember, but has Cena won the title since he came back at the Rumble? Didn't he have a really short run?
Nope. He came back and he won the Rumble, and then he challenged Orton the next pay-per-view, and I think they did a draw. And then he did a three-way at Mania, and Orton won there, and then Hunter won it, and he's been champ since then.
Cena didn't win at the pay-per-view before Mania?
No.
I think he
won via DQ or something.
I think maybe the idea was he was going to win the title there, but anyway. The point is, at the beginning of the show here, I guess one of the storylines for this fucking epic feud is that Hunter has never beaten Cena or something like that.
Cena very briefly touched on this. He said, "You've beaten everyone except me." Okay. And they just kept going.
Maybe that's true. Number one, I don't care. Number two, I feel like these guys have wrestled for the belt a million times. I don't remember who won. I don't care. It just feels like I've seen this feud before. Maybe it's not.
They wrestled Mania.
Maybe this is like a brand new match, never before done before, but I just find that impossible to believe.
The combination is new, but both guys at this point, especially Hunter, are just so stale.
The combination of Hunter versus Cena?
They fought at Mania. They were in the three-way Mania this year.
But I mean like in years past.
I'm trying to think of other Hunter-Cena matches.
Maybe there hasn't been.
I think you're imagining things just because these two guys have been on top for so long.
It's very, very likely. But that's part of my point as well. I mean, this could be the first time these two men have ever been in a ring together. It still feels like it's been done a million times.
It's the same two guys you've been watching for years and years and years.
Yeah. This is just, I don't know. So yeah, there's Raw, everybody. I will give it a thumbs in the middle because I thought the last match was a lot of fun. But the rest of the show...
Prior hour and 45 minutes were a solid thumbs down.
Well, no, there was... Let's see, what else was
the first 45 minutes was a solid thumbs down.
That was a solid thumbs down.
Okay.
And, in fact, everything I'm trying to... Now that I'm looking back.
There were some... I would have given the women's match a thumbs up if it hadn't been finished with an axe handle.
Well, shit happens, you know? Maybe she was supposed to give her a forearm to the back and she forgot. Maybe she tripped. I don't know.
None of these are good excuses.
I can't fault them for that. So anyway, that was the show there. And Raw, everyone. Woo-hoo!